So a few things has been going on with Curri. Curri deactivated. So Curri is a thing that's a soft deactivation. And if you don't take one for 60 days, you will get soft deactivated. You used to be able to email them right away and get right back on. It's kind of still the same thing, but here's what's happened. So there's some markets, like not mine, but there's some markets that during the winter or whatever, maybe they're not seeing anything. But a year or two ago, they weren't seeing anything in the summer either. So Curri's still building out their market presence. But if your market doesn't see anything for 2 months and you don't even have the ability to take one for 2 months, they literally soft deactivate everybody. What I found out from the team is that on May 1st and there forward, they started reactivating everybody, and you didn't even have to email them. If you had been deactivated due to the 60-day thing, they were reactivating you once your market got busy. And so that's been happening to a ton of people I know who were like, I was deactivated. And like in the last 3 weeks, all of them have been reactivated, or almost, like literally, unless they did something wrong. If they did something wrong, they're still deactivated. But if it was just that, you've been reactivated. So are the orders all the best paying? Hell no. But there's 10 times the orders this summer, or close to it, than I saw last summer. So you got to weed through it a little bit. Like last week, and I have a community post out, I a good percentage of the orders I saw, nobody took, because in my market, they're pretty smart. And they said, no, I ain't taking that for that amount for that. And in a lot of markets, people just jump on it. But in mine, they're getting pretty smart, so they won't do it. And like some of them, many of them I saw come back a second time, but some of them I saw 3, 4. I saw one come back 6 times, and it went from 45 to like 95 in 22 minutes. So you just got to be patient. I know sometimes they onboard like 5 to 10 people because they added a new client, or some people aren't taking offers, and it's a hard game to balance that. And sometimes when they add people, they're adding people who aren't really great at, they're just taking things, and then they either quit because they're like, dude, that was a lot of work, or they the number one reason for Curri deactivations, all you guys know I'm very tight with the entire team, all the way up to Matt Lafferty, the CEO. The number one reason for deactivations this year is smoking pot at the pickup or drop off. Again, guys, this is a professional game. If they have a running joke about, dude, quit sending DoorDashers our way. Like, because of that, they literally associate that to that. They're like, dude, the pot smoking people are the DoorDashers who just don't give a shit if they make $1 or 100 or whatever. They're just going to be out there and work, or who believe in active time, which is just a lie. It's real time or no time. So, but yeah, the number one reason is smoking weed at the pickup or drop off. And the funniest part is that they email you that you have been deactivated. If you email them back and you say, for what? Like anybody would, they email you back all the different video angles of you smoking weed. And they say for doing this on this, at this location's present, at this location on this date. And they send you, like, if they only have one, it's one. But I know one guy who got 7 camera angles on him. Like, they're going to town and they're proving it. They're saying, dude, no. So again, it's just, you're all going to do what you're going to do, but I'm telling you, on Curri, don't do it. I mean, unless you just don't care. But if you've been on Curri and you're like, man, it's just not as prevalent in my market, you might need to give it time, because when they land one big client in your market, the whole market changes. I bet our market's very good. My market's very good for Curri. So we have a lot of B2B transport. We're kind of in the center of the country. So a lot of, crossroad trucking and stuff. And then they want to do the smaller runs. So now we get into don't take offers with Curri, okay, unless you want that offer. Again, and this is a good thing, Curri obeys independent contractor law in every state. Almost every single app does not do that. Curri does. They obey every single law, independent contractor law, in every state. They show complete transparency. this, that, the other. They're doing everything correctly by the book or by the law. They're not trying to get around it. They don't have tiers. They don't have this, that, the other. They don't exist. Round robin, take it, don't take it. We don't care. There's no acceptance rate. So to me, these are the perfect type apps. I love those because you shouldn't be penalized for not looking or something or not taking one or whatever, because that's all just to have a little control over you, which by the ABC test in most states they're not supposed to do. Where Curri needs some improvement, and I'm going to say this very sharply because Curri team does watch when I do last miles, especially on them. So what's up, guys? I got to be honest. So hang in there. And I've told them this before too, but all the apps are at fault on this. Some way more than others. But Curri needs to improve customer support. When I started 4 years ago on Curri, you called and you got a person in the LA office where they started who was actually walking you through, because they're a logistics company. They're not a switch operator company like Uber or DoorDash that literally has no technology at all, zero. They just have an algorithm written that does things. Curri doesn't. They actually have a logistical team because they go from car to SUV to pickup truck with pipe rack to cargo van to sprinter van to box truck, and then all the way up to 18 wheelers and fleets. So they are a logistical company. But I do say all the apps are failing at this very badly, and it's all because of AI. And I'm not saying AI sucks in every way. I'm just saying all these companies just jumped in. They didn't like have support agents over top of the AI. They just threw the AI in and said, it'll handle everything correctly. Right. So Curri, don't appreciate that, because there should always be a way, because this is the top shelf of B2B. There should always be a way when you are active on a run to get a person on the phone. Now, they've always had in-app help, and there's a lot of options in there that can help you, but it would take them forever to respond. One thing that they have changed recently is that response time is business. I don't know about weekends, because weekend things are rare unless they're long runs and stuff. But in the weekdays, most of the time, you're going to get your issue resolved in about 15 minutes. And that might not even sound like the best, but it is what it is, and it's a lot better than it used to take. It used to take a long time. So they're even improving that. They're trying to improve the time that they can get back to the AI. So I would say become familiar with the help button at the bottom of Curri and see what the options are, because you should be familiar, because you should be claiming everything. Like when you arrived 30 minutes later, you should hit the help. I've waited 30 minutes. The flow screen will then take you to, are you able to keep waiting for this? And they will restart another clock. But hitting that adds money to your final pay. So by doing that, I've waited 30 minutes. Even whether you answer yes or no that you can stay and wait for the offer, you're still going to get that money added to, even if you say no and you have to leave. They have a method of breaking down what you're going to be paid. It these days, from what I can tell, it seems to be around 30% of what you were offered. But then you want to tack on everything you can. And through there's a lot of things you can tack on, a lot. And they keep adding more. And I used to tell them, dude, just make it so that you can write your problem and solve it. Now I see what they're doing. They're finally getting this dialed and adding a lot of options that do make sense. And they want to know, is it not ready? Is the carrier, there's just so many options. So I would tell you, just go get familiar with it. You do have to be on an active order, but you can hit help and take some screenshots and then go home and really look at them that night, because you'll know then when you're doing it, oh man, this is in there. You'll know what you should be doing.